Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome to Elite Dangerous. This is the second video in my top 10 of 2016 series. The first video featured the top highlights of 2016 and this video contains the top 10 lows of 2016. Now do keep in mind that this list of course features my own personal opinion. Your opinion may vary and that's totally fine. Now 2016 was long expected to be a huge year for Elite Dangerous, with the full release of Horizons making it to the market. Of course, that never happened, and we're still waiting for the rest of the season to unfold. Nonetheless, during 2016 a whole ton of content was released for the game, and here is my look then at the top 10 lows of 2016 for Elite Dangerous. The Alien Mystery may well have been a high point during 2016 for Elite Dangerous, but the low point was that the aliens themselves never made an appearance. Now, during Gamescom, Frontier made a rather elaborate teaser trailer showing off the aliens, or at least hinting towards their release. That was in August, and here we are at the start of January, still without their arrival. Now, the ironic thing may well be that they turn up within the next few days, or the next few weeks, or the next few months. The fact is, we do not know. Yet they still remain a highly anticipated feature. Even still, they've been teased for so long now that the entire concept is starting to feel a little bit old by this point. And to be perfectly honest, I find myself now standing with a growing crowd of people shouting, "Come on Frontier, get on with it already." Missions took a massive beating during 2016. One of the largest of these was for Robigo Mines. The smuggling missions that made people many millions of credits were nerfed right into the ground. These of course weren't the only missions to be hit with a nerf bat. On top of that, Frontier really seemed to be struggling with balancing rewards on all the missions right across the board. It's something which they readily admit is not too easy to fix, yet it's something they're looking into, so I hold out hope that eventually missions of all types will be well worth doing, but until that point missions seem to be currently at an all-time low. When patch 2.1 hit for the engineers, many people were really amazed at the improvements in the NPC AI. Now of course there were a number of problems there. The NPCs were using weapons that they shouldn't have, but Frontier soon fixed that and we were faced with AI that posed somewhat of a challenge. And of course this made for some very interesting and entertaining gameplay. But then the nerf bat struck and the AI was returned to its previous form, along with a few fixes that repaired a few of the most glaring bugs. The hope remains that the improved AI will one day roll out again in a future iteration of Elite Dangerous, but for now the threat and the challenge of the AI seems to be all too low, especially for those people with an engineered ship. The Formidine Rift mystery has been a subject of interest and intrigue right since the very early days of Elite Dangerous. Many players have spent an inordinate amount of time trying to understand and investigate what is going on in there. Now all of this work was eventually paid off with a massive community goal searching and exploring this entire region. The community goal brought with it some new information and a flourish of activity. Much needed, much looked forward to, a very exciting prospect for all the people involved with the exploration within the Formidine Rift. Eventually a new location was discovered by a player that would prove to be central to the entire mystery. This location, situated on a planetary surface however, would cause all the game clients to crash upon approach. Although Frontier are well aware of this issue and have said that it will be fixed in the next patch update, this nonetheless left all players involved with the investigation high and dry. What's more is that this is not the first time that a mysterious location has caused the game client to crash, and on this particular occasion it proved to be very anticlimactic. It's extremely disappointing to find geezers on the top 10 lows of 2016. Volcanism is something that I was exceptionally looking forward to during the updates of Horizons, and as it turned out, these things were very difficult to find. In fact, many people would never have found one. The only way to truly find them is through sheer brute force. Volcanism then brings with it no new gameplay of any type. That said, some of these locations can feature crystalline structures and these could be collected as various types of material. Yet that is an entirely different story. The inability of the game to provide tools to locate and interact with volcanism of all types is a major letdown. First shown off at Gamescom, the new planetary surface maps were a very anticipated feature for explorers and most players alike. The idea here was that players would be able to see the planetary surface details from simply using a discovery blast upon entry into the star system. However, this feature was hit with a nerf bat before it was even released. In its final form, this feature resulted in players having to head on over to planets, get up close and personal, and perform a basic surface scan before the planetary surface map would be revealed. Of course, at this point, many people argued that the planetary surface map was largely redundant, because players, of course, were close enough to the planets at that time to have a good idea of what surface features contained. From a personal perspective, I was very much looking forward to this feature. I'm not the type of explorer that's in it for the credits, so I couldn't care whether it's an ice planet, a metal planet, or even an Earth-like. The feature I most wanted was the ability to check out planetary features without having to waste inordinate amounts of time heading out to check each planet individually. It's unfortunate then that most players didn't get the chance to test out the opportunities that this feature would have provided. Graphical updates were one of the features that made my top 10 highs of 2016, but they also make my top 10 lows of 2016. Here you can see how planetary surfaces have changed, and this seems to be something that affects high metal content and all the types of metallic worlds. Down there in the bottom of the screen you can see that this planet featured some rather rich green colours, but now all planets of this type show up beige. Yes, they show beige on the system maps, but they also show beige in-game. This has proven to be hugely disappointing for many types of players. Elite Dangerous has often been accused of all planets looking a little bit too similar, but that now is even more the case now that most planets seem to be beige. Here you can see some of the old screenshots from back before patch 2.2. And here you can see footage of planetary surfaces with immensely rich detail and coloration. Try as you might, this is something that you will now no longer find within Elite Dangerous. This is a subject that Frontier are remaining very quiet on. People who have noticed this wish only for an official statement showing whether or not this is an intended or unintended change. Until that point, and as it currently stands, the beigification of the galaxy remains an all-time low point for planetary landings. Bugs are all over the place. Some of us are affected more by them than others, but it's true to say that nearly every area of gameplay now is affected by one bug or another. And to add insult to injury, there are huge server issues with massive amounts of disconnections going on, causing all types of problems for solo players as well as multiplayers and wing groups. As of this current video, Frontier are working on the netcode, and that's due to arrive in an update in the near future. Now, whether or not that addresses all the problems is an entirely new question, but what it won't address is many of the underlying bugs that have been here for a very long time now. Some of them going back as long as 6 months, some of them going back much longer. The number of bugs here are far too numerous to cite in this video, and that isn't the purpose of this list, but if you're a long-time player of Elite Dangerous, you will be well aware of all these bugs. And in many cases, these are not simple glitches, but they are gameplay breaking bugs that prevent progress being made. The currently long-time broken SRV scanner is a great example of this, but it's a relatively minor example amongst many others. Introduced with the initial release of Horizons, material collection has proven to be a bit of a controversial subject, and it was made all the worse with the release of the Engineers. Now, the collection of material is very RNG, that's random number generated, and it causes all manner of problems. Some of the lowest grade materials and the lowest grade data can be exceptionally difficult to find, whilst some of the highest grade, grade 5, can be all too easy to find, and of course the reason for this is purely down to the dice roll. This entire system was poorly received by the community, and fortunately Frontier were quite quick to listen. They improved the material collection process by increasing the amount of data and the amount of material collected for each individual unit. They also eventually updated the system map to show which planets contained which types of material. However, this didn't address the underlying issue. The underlying issue being that the entire process is far too drawn out and far too random. Many players have compared the collection process to free-to-play as well as mobile games, and personally I feel this is a very fair comparison. The only difference here is that there's no alternative means to use real money to collect the gems. Oh, I'm in the materials. Love them or hate them, no one can argue that the engineers are not a game of chance. Hours upon hours of collecting data and materials only to use them on a chance roll here at the Engineer Casino. The engineer modifications themselves have of course had a huge impact upon the game. In many ways they have dramatically changed the balance, some ways making it more difficult and in others much easier. And that depends on which side of the fence you sit on as to whether you own Horizons or just the base game. But for me, the problem with the engineers is all about the casino here, the crazy dice rolls, the crazy moving bars, and indeed the little fruit machine or roulette wheel rolling around here at the end. Bottom line then, you can at least have a bit of fun with the engineers by jumping on over to the beta servers and using fish for all your rolls, as I did here. Then again, maybe this is merely a line of perception, and had these guys been called overclockers rather than engineers, the whole reception may have been dramatically different. So at number 1 then, the idea that RNG permeates every line of Elite Dangerous from top to bottom, and that, for me, really was a low of 2016. Standing here at the end of these two videos, the top 10 lows of 2016 and the top 10 highs of 2016, it's curious at best, isn't it, that the top 10 lows contains more gameplay features than the top 10 highs. It seems to me then that here at the start of 2017, Elite Dangerous finds itself in a position where it is very much struggling with the concepts of gameplay, and I hope that is something which is addressed over the rest of this year. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.